This next story, which I'm a little bit of a Kingdom Hearts fan, just a little bit though. um, so they've been talking a little bit about the content that's going to be in the next Kingdom Hearts game. And if you haven't played one, Kingdom Hearts is basically a Square's take on a lot of the different Disney movies. You go to different worlds. Each world is representative of one of those movies, and they throw in Final Fantasy elements. You can use a lot of the same spells, same elements. Final Fantasy characters show up, and I want to say that they were either they were thinking about it, or there was a rumor that they were thinking about actually having some Final Fantasy worlds involved in the in Kingdom Hearts 3. But recently, someone from Square was asked about it. The co-director Tai Yasu, and what his quote was, "We're not adding any Final Fantasy worlds. A lot of the original worlds, like Hollow Bastion and Traverse Town, had Final Fantasy characters in them. At this moment, we are not really coming up with any plans for that. We're making original worlds and Disney worlds." And then he went on further to say, the best thing would be to have Disney worlds everyone recognizes and are famous, but that are also distinct and unique. We want the difference and variety. We don't want a lot of the same thing. Now, when I played the original Kingdom Hearts game, it was kind of sold to me by a coworker as, hey, this is, if you like Final Fantasy, and you grew up watching Disney, like, this is the perfect game for you to get into. And I thought, oh, well, this is going to be like 50-50, like 50% Final Fantasy content, 50% Disney content. And it's not that way at all. It's more like 90% Disney,
with some Final Fantasy sprinkled on top of that.
8% original characters, and then like 2% Final Fantasy. And you have some characters show up, and Kingdom Hearts 2 probably had the most. But even with the spin-offs, the spin-offs sometimes are kind of based on other Kingdom Hearts games, if that sounds weird. Like Chain of Memories is very much based on the first Kingdom Hearts game, so you still run into the same exact characters. Squall, he goes by Leon in Kingdom Hearts, so you meet Leon, Yuffie,
Sid.
Aerith, Sid. You meet all those characters again, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 had a whole bunch of people. And then, like, even if you play one of the really good spin-offs, like Birth by Sleep, you meet Zack from Final Fantasy VII. And then I want to say in Dream Drop Distance, you don't even meet Final Fantasy characters. You actually meet some characters from The World Ends With You.
I was actually really excited about that.
Yeah. But you still need to have Final Fantasy characters in it.
Yeah, especially with what's the original like hub world for Kingdom Hearts? The location where like Sid and Leon were at.
Traverse Town.
That was Traverse Town?
Yeah. Are you thinking of Hollow Bastion?
No, I'm thinking of was it Twilight Town?
Yeah.
2?
Yeah, Twilight Town in 2, which just
Okay.
that was an original world with original characters.
Yeah. So then yeah, I'm thinking of Traverse Town. You go back there and Dream Drop Distance, which is where you meet all of the World Ends With You characters. But it's still like the same place, and like Sid's not there, which is a little weird.
They're in Hollow Bastion
Oh,
now, because
yeah.
they were originally from Hollow Bastion and they moved there, or moved back. But and at first I thought, when I first discovered, like, okay, so this is mostly Disney characters with like a with a bunch of original or some new original characters in it. It was a bit of a letdown, but the original characters like Sora and Riku have really interesting character developments that they do with the original storyline that I didn't so much miss the Final Fantasy characters a whole lot. But if I'm reading his quote right, it not only sounds like they're not planning on having Final Fantasy worlds, right after he said that, hey, we had these original worlds, Hollow Bastion and Traverse Town, that had Final Fantasy characters in them. At this moment, we are not really coming up with any plans for that. So it almost sounds like they don't plan on incorporating any Final Fantasy characters into it. And it's just kind of like the Final Fantasy stuff with the previous Kingdom Hearts games are kind of like the cherry on top. It's just that little bit of, for lack of a better term, fan service that you put in there, where you have, like an amazing scene in Kingdom Hearts 2 where Cloud and Squall are back to back fighting Heartless. So that's an amazing jaw-dropping moment that you can't get anywhere else. And it's just, that is part of the draw of the game. Now, Kingdom Hearts has, bolstered itself and gotten to a point where it's a franchise that a lot of gamers are aware of. You don't necessarily need the star power of Final Fantasy. I mean, it's kind of actually, in some cases, more revered than Final Fantasy at this point. But you could still, come on. You own the characters. You have them at your disposal. Find a way to stick them into the story. For crying out loud. How hard could that be?
Yeah, I think when they originally did it in the first Kingdom Hearts, it was kind of like what you said. It was like a brand new, fresh game, and they were creating entirely new characters. And they were also like a really big thing was that like they were doing it like there's going to be a lot of Disney stuff. And I feel like a lot of people, like when I had first heard about that game, when I was in third grade, I the only thing I heard was Disney. And back then, when you're like a 9-year-old boy, Disney was just kind of like, oh, like princesses and magical, like romantic, girly stuff.
Yeah.
So like that stuff, like it didn't really get my attention at first. I was just like, no, this is gonna be a girly game. And then like an even younger friend of mine played it, and he recommended it to me, and he actually made me read the manga for it.
Actually, I have some of those.
It was I enjoyed it, and then I was like, that's pretty cool. So then I played the game, and I feel like the Final Fantasy characters were mainly in there just to give it like, hey, this is a brand new game, but look, people
Yeah.
we're throwing stuff out there like that. You should play this game.
It's a crossover game.
Yeah, which is pretty much what it's. It really is just like Final Fantasy meets Disney, but the protagonist is an entirely new person that we've never seen before. So there's not a lot of hype to give up about it. So throwing people like Squall and Yuffie, characters that are like recognizable and fan favorites. And then
You even
was Cloud in the first one?
Yeah, and
Yeah, he was in the Coliseum.
You had Vivi in the second one.
Okay.
Even.
That was the greatest thing in the world for me because I love that character so much. Like him evolving from like the Black Knight sprite from like Final Fantasy 2 or something to his own character in Final Fantasy 9 made me so happy. And then to see him in Kingdom Hearts 2, like as a mediocre artist at the time, I drew nothing but Vivi for a really long time. Got pretty good at it too, especially when that's like one of the only things you draw is that you get good at doing stuff like that. But that was a really exciting thing for me, even though like he's not a super big character, but he's still like he's a side adorable character, kind of like R2-D2 maybe.
Yeah, and will Kingdom Hearts 3 be a worse game without Disney characters? Probably not.
Disney characters?
I'm sorry, Final Fantasy
I was gonna
characters.
say that's the game.
Will Kingdom Hearts 3 be a worse game without Final Fantasy characters? Probably not. Would it be a better game with them? I think so. I mean, that kind of doesn't make sense what I just said there, but it it just adds that little bit of an X factor that you're not going to see in other games. Like Kingdom, when during the PS2 GameCube era, like my two of my favorite series was Kingdom Hearts and Super Smash Brothers, because you got all these characters from different series interacting together. And with Smash, they've just done more and more and more with each game. And you would think that, Square would realize that that's part of Kingdom Hearts' draw. As good of an action RPG as it is, just throwing in those little characters and plot elements and maintaining this crossover world that you've created, that's only going to help it be a better game in the long run.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think a really enjoyable part of Kingdom Hearts 2 was finding Sephiroth as a secret boss and being unbelievably hard and quite unnecessarily hard. But I guess it kind of just adds to, like, he was a very strong person, and Sora cannot really be compared to Cloud.
Right.
So, I guess that's another reason why he was that strong. But, like, that was one of the most, like, talked about and exciting things about Kingdom Hearts 2 was just, like, and it wasn't really, like, talked about at first, like, and then people found it and they were like, Sephiroth is gonna kill me with his, like, 42-inch long katana before I can even touch him with my 3-foot long key.
Yeah.
And that was, I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan just because, like, I wasn't brought into those games when I was younger, just because I just didn't get to know that. But, like, Kingdom Hearts was kind of like my Final Fantasy for a lot of people. Like, one of my best friends, his favorite franchise of all time is, like, Final Fantasy, but he's, like, the same age as me. But it's because his brother bought them all, and then, like, he played them and let him play them. And then like that, like, my brother didn't do that, my dad didn't do that. So Kingdom Hearts is, like, the closest thing to, like, Final Fantasy that I got to when I was a kid. So I'm very huge Kingdom Hearts fan. But playing those games, I've grown to appreciate the characters from Final Fantasy, and I've even gone back and played some Final Fantasy games because of how, like, cool they were in the Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah. I can't see someone or anyone complaining about adding more Final Fantasy elements into the game. And if you do complain about it, you probably don't even like Kingdom Hearts in the first place.
Yeah, so you should probably stop talking forever.